Let's go through the answers to these questions real quick. We're going to take the copper that we heated yesterday, and we're going to separate out the heated and the unheated copper, okay, the copper oxide and the regular copper on Monday, and then we'll take the copper oxide and turn it back into copper probably on Tuesday or Wednesday, okay? So the whole idea here is that the copper isn't gone. The copper is still there, and you'll be able to see that. So the first question here says, does a reaction take place? Yes. Some people say yes, some people say no. If you think about where it's asked here, it's really asked before you mass it, right? So really all that you see is a change in color. And is a change in color evidence of a reaction taking place?
Yes.
Not necessarily. Okay, we talked about heating a piece of metal. If you take a piece of metal and you heat it up, it turns red. That doesn't mean that that a reaction is taking place. It could be that a reaction is taking place, but it doesn't have to be. So just because it turned black doesn't necessarily mean that a reaction is taking place. So I don't care if you have yes or no here. If you answered it after you masked it, you probably said yes. Okay? If you didn't, you might not have said yes. So then it says mass the crucible's contents. Did the crucible's contents gain or lose mass? You should have found that it gained mass. Now, the balances we have are garbage. Okay? They're cheap, they're old, they don't necessarily register a change like they should, and so you may not have seen that change. But what you should have found if we had good balances, if you had one of the good balances, is that it gained about 1/10 of a gram of mass, maybe a little bit less than that, which was hard to see with our balances. So is your answer to the previous question evidence that the reaction is taking place? That's yes. We know that we didn't create copper, right? You can't heat copper and create more copper. Mass is conserved. We've talked about that all year. Okay, whatever mass you start with, you have to end with. So the only explanation for a gain in mass is that something from the air was added to it. And in this case, it was oxygen. Okay, so it formed copper oxide. Now really, if you look carefully at the stuff in your crucible, what ended up happening was you saw, first it turned kind of a tan color. Okay, it went from orange to like tan. And then it gradually started to turn dark, okay, turn black or kind of a dark gray color. On question number, what is that one? 4. What do you predict will happen if you continue to heat the crucible for an additional 10 to 15 minutes? Try it. You should have a prediction there. It's just a hypothesis. Maybe you said something like, it'll continue to gain mass. It'll get darker, it'll lose mass. It really doesn't matter as long as you have a hypothesis. Then it says break up the contents of the crucible with a scrupula and examine the pieces. You may or may not have had time to do this. You'll definitely get to see the results of it on Monday when we get it back out and look at it. But it says, do you think that all the copper has reacted? Really what you should have seen is there's still some copper colored stuff. And if it came out as a big chunk, once you broke that chunk in two, you could see in the inside of it that there was still a bunch of copper colored stuff inside of it. And then what fraction do you estimate did not react? Well, what you're going to find on Monday is about half of it, about 50% did not react. Okay? Really just the surface reacted. So what you need to do